Oh, hello. Welcome to today's Decay, celebrating births and beginnings of everything important since the dawn of time. January 26th edition. Year old dates, at any rate. 1781. Ludwig Achim von Arnim was born. Nobody's going to correct me on that. I'm sure of it. He was a writer who, in the early 1800s, wrote a novella called Isabel of Egypt, or Isabella of Egypt, which was not a horror novel, but had lots and lots of horror elements to it in a really strange way, because it almost presupposes like 1940s monster rallies where Universal Monsters had like House of Dracula and House of Frankenstein, where you like jam pack the story with a whole bunch of monsters for the fun of it and the spectacle. Yeah. So this novella, Isabella was actually a gypsy, and I guess there was some thought at the time, or not, I don't know, that gypsies came from Egypt at some point, but now the story takes place in Germany. I haven't read this story, but I've read of it, and it sounds so interesting. I really want to read it, if I can find it somewhere. So this is in like a Germanic town, in like a haunted mansion, and there's a mystics and witches and Alruna, like a soulless woman who is born from a mandrake root from the gallows underneath where like men get killed, who then comes, there winds up being like a soulless soldier involved too. I forget what his term is. And then they also wind up involving a Jewish golem as well, with like a rabbi who like creates this living creature out of lifeless clay. And it's a story that was supposedly in production in like 1920 in Weimar, Germany, and either was never fully made or was produced and then lost. It would make sense that this movie would have been made at the time, because you already had the success of both Alruna and Sine Everts' story, as well as The Golem by Paul Vergener. So the thought of like, hey, let's take these characters and exploit them even further by putting everybody together in a room and seeing what happens seems totally feasible. Whether it happened or not, nobody seems to know. The film would have been called Alruna and Der Golem, but it's based off this novella called Isabella of Egypt by Ludwig Achim von Arnim. Yeah, he was born today in 1781. Kees van Dongen, born today 1877. Dutch painter who painted lots of prostitutes, and he's really haunting big-eyed women, and it's really good. What's not to like? Huey Piano Smith, born today 1934. Buddy Holly, his first recording session was today 1956. Was it all downhill from there? I don't know. But early Buddy Holly, either way, is really, really good. And he wasn't recording for all that long. So, you know, what would have happened if he continued for another 10 years as the music drastically changed around him? He'd already had it by the time he had moved to New York. He was already kind of going in different directions. So, you know, you get snapshots of people at the time they were in, but that's not to say that when they're really good, they're not still really good. But you always wonder what would happen. I don't know. Speaking of wondering, today, Bob Lazar, born today in 1959, who is right down there in the middle of the whole Roswell, did it happen, did it not happen conspiracy, which, you know, fine, whatever. Just saying. I'm not sure that I buy conspiracies anymore. Whatever. Piper's Pit premiered today, 1984. This is something that had a real big effect on me. It felt like it was almost like surreal in quite literally breaking the third wall or fourth or fifth wall. But they broke all the walls. There was no walls left. All the sets were not standing by the time the show was over. And as a kid, this blew my mind. Roddy Piper could just do whatever he wanted, and he looked that much cooler doing it. Yeah, thanks for that. And last, I don't know, is it certainly not least? Debatable. 1999 today, Phantom Creep Fridays started, which was my monthly psychobilly, rock and roll, punk, rockabilly, garage, whatever I felt like doing, monthly night that I wound up doing for every month for basically 20 years to the day, till January 26, 2019. I had done a series of shows before Phantom Creep Fridays at the Kill Time, a squat in West Philly, where we brought in kegs and mixed punk bands with psychobilly bands, and it was really good. But then I moved to the Taza in Old City, and it was an actual bar, and they never carded me. I kept wind up celebrating my 22nd birthday there over and over and over again, even though I was like 18, 19, 20, 21, 22. And then eventually when I left college, it transitioned pretty much into the Midnight Monster Hop here in New York at Outer Shrunken Head, where it then continued with me and Mike Mortician for many, many years, booking mainly psychobilly, but whatever is really good rock and roll, truly. Eventually until 2019, to the day, January 26th. I was going to go rifle through some boxes and take out some flyers as like a show and tell, because it would be a good day for it, but it's buried away at the moment, buried away. Yeah. There you go. And why is that a big deal? Because otherwise you wouldn't know, would you? Time just goes. Whoever was there for it was there for it, and if you weren't, you missed it, and it's as if it never happened. So you got to remind yourself, and maybe some others will listen along the way. And then shortly thereafter, the world closed down. So maybe us stopping the Monster Hop in 2019 was like if we hadn't done that, life would have just continued on as per usual. Don't know. Can't say. That's not what happened. Anyway, that's it. From me to you. Till tomorrow. Cheers.